Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time, the Zerg in the red, the finisher. It's Serral. Up against the perpetual underdog Terran in the blue, a normal man and a world champion. It's Oliveira, a best of 5 Terran versus Zerg showdown with some big questions to start things off. Is Oliveira ever going to be able to replicate the success of that fateful day that saw him as world champion? Is Serral, who's currently actively serving in the Finnish military, going to be able to compete against players who are practicing essentially their entire day to beat him? And last but certainly not least, have you yet liked, and if you haven't made it there yet, subscribe? And Jimmy, what are we? 1,332 likes on this cast, on this series. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I would do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Oliveira, one, has a unique Terran versus Zerg style that I think has a chance of holding a candle to Serral, revolving around mostly Octo-Rex timing attacks. And though his former name might be Time, he always seems to know when it is time to move out. Serral, on the other hand, the accountant of Zerg. He will cross his T's, dot his I's, and he's not going to be giving you a tax refund because he's busy taking your prize money. He just seems to do everything better. There is no clear weakness to Serral. At some point, it might have been his predictability, where he has a tendency to lean into those long macro games, and you might be able to find a timing. But that's no longer the case over the last couple years even, where Serral has gone from that predictable macro Zerg to occasionally mixing in just enough cheese to keep things interesting. And, well, that means once again Oliveira's coming in as a heavy underdog and Serral as a heavyweight, despite his less than overwhelming stature. Alright, Brenda bounced to start, lights up the queen. The first exchanges here on Ghost River. An inauspicious name for the Zergs, but Overlord was all the way back hovering over the river and now looking for an opportunity to get a full scout off. And likely will have it, as Oliveira, nothing really back in the base to stop it. Nothing else untoward. The queen's pushing out. The Hellions not darting in. 2 Hellions in total at the front. Oh, the Overlord actually got pushed out. I take it back. But he did see the tech lab. The Overlord does get taken down, but he sees 2 barracks and a tech lab upgrading stim, which tells him enough of the timing that could be hitting. Enough Zerglings are out that were originally being used to box out the Hellions, but instead now ready for a counterattack. And Oliveira does not have a wall, which means the Zerglings are going to get in. And they're going to drag all the Hellions back. Just a handful of lings, assuming you can fit like 8 lings in your hand. And that's enough to do not really economic damage, but timing damage here. It drags Oliveira off the map, and look what Serral's going to be doing. He's sitting at the edge of the creep. The queen's literally standing guard. Brenda getting all the gals together and making sure the creep is spread as far as possible. And behind it, Serral shoots up to 60 drones. Does he have a lair on the way? Not quite yet. That's going to be next on the agenda after the Baneling nest. But that small counterattack, either he has the lings to deal with the Hellions if they decide to be so bold as to run in, or he goes for the counterattack and finds that perfect timing before there's even a wall at the natural. So Serral off to a strong start, a Hellion drop. Going to be spotted by an Overlord there. In fact, creep is also headed towards the north. There should be some sort of response. The Zerglings are already here, but Hellbats, just a couple Hellbats, and then some Hellions at the back. No, more for them all into Hellbats. So Oliveira finds an opportunity here. Meanwhile, Marines getting caught by the Queens, who will politely yet firmly ask them to get the hell out. 2 Hellbats make it back into the medevac, but the Queens have enough energy here. A single medevac, not going to be enough. Looks like the 4th base was delayed, so forcing a cancel on that. does help out just a bit, but the upgrades are going to be heavily in favor of the Finnish Zerg. And the Queens, off a creep, not going to find too much. The Marines gunning down more and more Zerglings. Hellbats will drop out, and the Zergling counter will be shut down for now. And Oliveira's caught up. He's at 58 to 61 workers overall. Combat shield is done. It's only those upgrades that are really lacking at this point. Baneling speed on the way. Melee attacks, level 1. Ground carapace, level 1. For the Zerg, of course. Going to be complementing this Lingbane. We don't see any infestation pit yet, so just focused on mass units here to start things off. And the Zerglings, a single siege tank enough to discourage any further activities. The Queens, surviving the Reaper grenades, more emotional than actual damage. And continuing to push the creep, though Oliveira's done a pretty good job of, with minimal units, keeping the creep at bay. Setting up for another drop. More medevacs on the way, and drilling claws for Widow Mines in order to maintain their cloak. A strong choice against the... He just transfuse a drone. Yeah. Queen's adding more creep. Baneling speed, now complete. Which, getting creep this far, going to help out the Zerglings and Banelings. And there's not much space in between the base. They're pretty cramped in. Another thing to point out is Ghost River has some of the least bases. I think it has the least bases of any map in the map pool. Just in general. Really, Serral? That's not your side of the map. I heartily amused. Well, he certainly won't expect it. It's very unlikely that anything will be sent down there for at least a few more minutes. Oliveira may incidentally scout it. Oh, the medevac has to take a turn as the entire knitting crew here. Brenda, where are we going? We're so far off the creep. Susan, I know what I'm doing, all right? Just calm down. It's game 1. What does that mean? Game 1. It's pretty meta, Brenda. I know. Shh. Just move it. 119 Zerglings on the field. Dozens of Banelings. Massive drop loaded up as Serral is ready to go on the attack. And very notably, he does not have a hive on the way. Serral has so many Zerglings right now. The full Zerg. The Widowmine's going to be incredibly helpful in this particular scenario. The drop is skirting the edge of the sensor tower. I don't know if Oliveira has anything ready for it. Serral will now have an upgrade advantage, trying to draw out the Widowmine hits. Drop in to the natural. The Queen's helping to push back at the center. More Zerglings from the south side. Actually getting caught on top of the siege tanks. Gonna help thin out the Lings. Marines are coming back and will clean out most of the drop. And I think, for the most part here, Serral has been driven back, but not entirely driven out. Oh, an optimistic burrow. Actually, a misclick there, I think. As he certainly didn't want to burrow all of the Zerglings and all of the Banelings, but the drop in the main ends up killing a whole bunch of SCVs. Oliveira on the tail end of things, losing 28 in total. Serral also gave away the fact he has burrow at all, which is going to keep Oliveira at bay, but also... Brenda, no! I told you, Brenda, how many times... The Queens get gunned down. Serral is now actively mining from Oliveira's side. The creep doesn't show up because there's no technical units there, so the sensor tower is not spotted. Serral's attack driven back. 175 Zerglings, and that's just the beginning. My god. Another Dropper Lord. Will Oliveira incidentally scout the creep here? Oh my. He's going to see it. The medevacs, but already so many Lings and Banes on the field. Still no hive from Serral. This is an old school style, but it certainly checks out. Just mass Zergling and Baneling. Hive just now starting. There's some Lings burrowed in the base, but oh my god, you could just see on the minimap the sheer amount of Lings just swirling across the field, trying to drown him in a flood of Zerg. But Oliveira so far, He's even on supply. Another base, not lifted in time. Ripped down by the Zerglings. More drops at the back. And a medevac is taken down. Serral holding the line. Though the lines are certainly blurred at the moment. 3-3 is now on the way as Oliveira angles to take back the upgrade lead. Both players playing so well at the moment. Jousting, as neither has made a mistake, really. It's all stylistic and strategic choices. But now the economies are getting so high and the unit counts about as high as you can get. So something has to give. And here comes another wave of Zerg. The Widow Mine takes a big bite out of the Banes. Another Widow Mine shot. More Banes down, but the Planetary will likely fall. Banelings crashing in. Siege Tank helping out. Zerglings and Marines scatter the field with their blood. And the survivors will have to pick up the pieces. Oliveira dips a little heavier on supply there. Wow. Serral. Well, I guess there weren't that many Banelings. Oliveira, over the last 90 seconds or so, has killed 130 Lings. His siege tanks also killed 10 Marines and 2 Marauders. But Serral has not been able to do the critical dare. I can't believe Serral is actively mining from a base he's taken from Oliveira. And it matters a lot more on this map, where there's only 6 bases on your side in total. This is a significant portion of Oliveira's later game mining. Kind of surprised he hasn't slapped down the gas gassers there. Oliveira scouted it, but he couldn't do anything about it because Serral moved to defend too quickly. And now, his back is up against the creep. Well, I guess that's really his front. Anyways, the creep is at his door. That's the troublesome part. There's still 150 Lings on the field, scattering in Banelings. They're the Vipers in production. And Blinding Cloud, maybe a scouting Baneling underneath there. Drags out the Widowmine. Those laser indicators making it a little bit easier nowadays, though also to retarget. Serral comes in for another pass. Trying to drag out more mines. Not risking it. Overlapping Venn diagram of freedom from those Liberators. Adrenal gland's about to complete, but so is +3/+3 for Oliveira. Here come the Lings and Banes from the back. Another huge wave of Banes is canceled, actually. Just as +3 armor completes. Serral a little bit too far forward. And Oliveira is starting to retake the map. He really wants this base. He can't let Serral mine it for too long. The gas is probably more important than the minerals, but right now Oliveira needs all the minerals he can get. Another set of Widow Mines will blunt the force of this just a bit. Another set of Zerglings comes in and takes out a siege tank. But Oliveira, with his 3-3 bio, he actually has more army supply right now. In fact, he has more army supply than Serral can even build conventionally. As Serral's at 80 drones, but here comes another wave of Ling Bane. Parasitic Bomb onto the Liberators. Drags out the Widow Mines to the back. Siege tank in the middle of everything. Finds some decent target fire. Now taken out. Oliveira thinning out. Parasitic Bomb not quite enough to kill the Liberators. Only medevacs really left over here. And there's barely enough units with which to heal. You can only heal units with 1 medevac apiece. And Serral now trickling in more Lings and Banes. If he can get the Banelings, this 3-3 bio should be able to stand its ground. But he doesn't quite have the critical mass. Those are just changelings over there, kind of making things look a little bit different. Serral is building static, quote-unquote, defense. Oh, the Liberators will siege up, and Oliveira takes out the hatchery. Liberators deny the mining on one of Serral's bases, and destroying the base denies the mining on another. I know. You come here for the profound statement. Big wisdom's there. When you kill a base, it's no longer exist. Liberator has 13 kills. Serral has only lost 10 drones, but 562 Zerglings. And we're not even close to done. And counting the Banelings as well, we're getting close to 1,000. But Parasitic Bomb on these already bruised medevacs. Quarantines 1, looking for more. Gets it at the front line. Widowmine's helping out. Planetary morphing during all this. Another Widowmine onto the Overseers. 5 drones down. There must be a Liberator to the south side. He doesn't have advanced ballistics, but there is no anti-air built in, well, besides the Queens, who serve pretty much every purpose of the Zerg army. You need some anti-air, you need more economy, you need defense, you need creep. Well, the Queen's got you covered. And another Widow Mine. Big chunk of lings. I think it's 22 or so kills. More Drilling Claws mines. Good splits. Unburrows, though. Oliveira holding on and competing directly with Serral on the field. 500 to 450 APM. Nearly 1,000 in total. In fact, Serral a little bit lower than many of the other top-level Zergs, but he's just so efficient with it. Oliveira also, in this case. And the Widow Mines plus Marauders make it very hard to close the distance, and the Queens are now once again pulled up to the front line. Another scan from Oliveira. He'll spot the base. He will scan the bottom right just in case. Oh, the Viper count has grown to 4. Has he lost any? Just 1. He's so good about keeping those Vipers alive. Blinding Cloud used. Went through the rocks. Explosions on both sides. The Banelings detonating. The front line crumbles. Serral's supply is dipping heavily, but Oliveira loses the base. He's down to 2 bases of mining. Workers dying on either side. He's sent to drop out during all this. Everything's burrowed, somewhat awkwardly. The drones burrowed to escape from the Widow Mines. More Zerglings coming through. He's in single-digit Marines and Marauders. There's only 3 Marauders and 8 Marines on the field. He's building more in the production tab than he has on the field right now. And Serral barely holds on. I think Vipers did all the damage to that hatchery. The Widow Mines take another big bite, and Oliveira is holding even with Serral here in Game 1. Serral still has enough economy to perpetuate this, but the Vipers, Lings, and Banes don't seem to be doing quite enough to break through. The thing is, though, Oliveira's running out of minerals. He doesn't have the income, and he hasn't for the better part of 10 minutes. Occasionally a Mule Canyon will appear, but eventually that dissipates. And Serral's been maintaining mining on his entire half of the map, and for much of it, a bit on Oliveira's as well. So Oliveira needs to make not only a strong stand, but he needs to push back, as Serral has ground out just a little bit too much economy for Oliveira to be in a comfortable position to turtle up. Now the Widow Mines splashing across the field. Here come the Vipers. Parasitic bombs, Blinding Cloud, and Oliveira, wow. Not exactly a straw here that broke the camel's back. More like a few dozen Zerglings and Banelings. But Oliveira, for once, was not able to pull together the defenses. And that means Game 1, despite losing 6,000, 8,000 more minerals, 856 Zerglings, Serral will take it. But it was damn close. Oliveira proving he can hang with him. Serral almost getting locked in. If he had stayed on that lair tech composition for much longer, if he hadn't gotten the Vipers out or the adrenal glands for the Zerglings, well, I think Oliveira can turn that around easily. So, I think we got a series on our hands. It doesn't look like Serral really missing a beat, but Oliveira stepping up instead. And didn't really get off to a particularly good start either. The early drops didn't really get anything. The Queens were more than capable of zoning things out. So, at the end of the day, Serral just... That's such a Serral move. Just take his base and mine from it. Use it as a staging area. So not only does he have less resources later, but he has to fight on his side of the map. You don't want to be fighting aggressively on your side of the map. But Serral forced the issue. And the key to Zerg, especially that Ling Bane Zerg style, is like tower defense. Okay, if the first wave gets through, even a little bit, the second wave's probably going to do even better. And Serral's macro is so perfect. He's always hitting those injects multiple times. Probably 100 or more Zerglings in production. you can't let a wave through without severely decreasing your chances of holding the next one, or the next one, or even the next one after that. Another one. No. But I was impressed by Oliveira's multi-tier defense and his ability to put units, counter-attacking units out on the field. That's the hardest part. A lot of players can defend, but you need to do something. You need to put pressure on the other side of the map. Otherwise, you will just break eventually. And Oliveira proved capable of doing that. I'm actually surprised to see Serral lean so much into that lair tech Lingbane. It's an old school style. Nowadays, usually players will rush up to lair just to get a Viper or two. Or maybe an infestation pit for those infestors, which Serral himself has gotten arguably nerfed. I mean, you could attribute it to Zerg in general, but let's be honest with ourselves here for just a moment. It was Serral. All right. So. Yeah, for those who don't know, just to recount some of the balance changes throughout the last year or so. The Infestor now does 25 damage instead of 30 with Fungal, which is a key difference, because Marines have 55 HP. So that means Fungal now takes 3 hits to kill Marines. Obviously, usually they have medevacs nearby as well. Terran armories are cheaper. 50 gas cheaper from 100, so now only 50 gas apiece. And +2 and +3 infantry weapons and armor are both cheaper. +2 by 25-25, +3 by 50-50. But the Widow Mine was slightly nerfed to, one, have that fancy laser line we could see now, and it has slightly less radius. And Liberators with advanced ballistics have slightly less range. Also, a key change from last year, which Serral doesn't seem to have cared about very much, but is still worth noting, is that Banelings no longer get +5 HP once you research Baneling speed. They still get the speed upgrade. And for those of you who didn't know that, for many years they did get that +5 HP, well, consider yourself in the know now. But every single one of those Banelings goes from 35 to just staying at the 30 HP they have baseline. So, those are the key ones there. A few other changes, like the Cyclone being kind of a usable unit in the early game. Sometimes we'll see Mass Cyclone, but I don't think I've ever seen Oliveira do. Maybe he's done a mech build before, but he is a barracks boy indeed. And another game with the mass barracks, not even hinting at the mech. He's gonna have a safety Banshee, maybe 2. Banshees are just a safe bet in general. Nothing really protects your base better, especially at this stage of the game. And he saw a roach one. Serral opted for the roaches this time around. Will he continue on them is the question. Roaches and Ravagers can make up a solid timing. But they do drop off with time. So the longer the game goes on, the less valuable roaches are. Ravagers almost always have a place with just 3 shots. Get off my screen! Alright, Brenda. The Banshees are driven away. I think it's clear at this point they don't have cloak. Serral will comfortably get up to 70 drones. Oliveira sitting comfortable at 50 plus SCVs, though. He's got his 3rd already landed. So, about as close as we can get to a no-rush 7 minutes or so game. Here at this level. Overseer comes in. Changeling taking a look around. Baneling nest just now on the way, indicating that Serral's using the roaches as kind of a more larva-efficient way to box out the early aggression, because roaches, pound for pound, not great in the later game, but allows you to have more larva for drones. And we see that now, 83 drones with 6 more on the way, which is a bit much. but Serral seems to think he can get away with it. And so far, Oliveira has done nothing to prove otherwise. Overlord popped like an overripe tomato. Changeling coming. How you doing, bud? That didn't work out. Double drop loaded up, but the queens say no. Oh my. The Octorex is online. It's like he wants to add mass marauders in as well. Banshees will take out whatever's at the watchtower. +1/+1 about to complete for Oliveira, who will maintain an upgrade advantage this time around. Double drop headed into the main. There's still no easy response to this. As the queens, where are the queens? The Marines are just winning the fight. By the way, there's already a hive done. Just so many Zerglings. More than enough here, but Oliveira, look at that supply. Just pumping out so many units. We're only 8 minutes in. 2-2s on the way. These two are so good at building up while maintaining pressure on each other. Serral continually rotating around to deflect to multiple angles, while Oliveira threatening on all of them. But here comes the attack. 3 siege tanks, 3 medevacs, banshees in tow, but also to the north side there's some hellbats as well. Serral has to split his forces perfectly. This attack is coming in, and Serral doesn't quite have what he needs to deal with it. He pulls back with the banelings. There's just not enough lings, but Vipers are already out. Unfortunately, there's nothing to follow it up. Oliveira's tearing through absolutely everything right now. He takes out the base to the north side. He may very well take out the base to the west as well. And this army, wow, Serral's supply is gutted. He went for everything, and he may end up with nothing. He makes another wave of Roach Ravager, which he's upgrading adrenal glands. He's getting Ultralisks. This is not what he wants to be building right now. But Zerglings aren't going to cut it. Oliveira cuts through to the heart of the swarm and doesn't quite cause a cardiac arrest. But right now, the blood pressure is certainly raised. As Serral down 20 supply. He's taken the base in the bottom left corner. The golden base of Golden Order. And now, it's Oliveira in pole position. He's going to have 2-2 done. The Ultras, the hero list. You don't want to have Ultras in a low economy situation. They're a win more unit. Ultras without armor and stuck on 3 bases are not going to be enough. There's only 2 queens left as well. The tanks are sieged up. The best supply is going to get... Viper throws out a parasitic bomb. Ultra tries to get some damage done. Maybe take it out immediately. Spray and pray corrosive biles. The bottom left hatchery base may very well complete. But here come the Vipers. The best Serral's going to get here. Yanks in a tank. Gets another one. Sprays onto the ramp. Knocks out the siege tank. But Oliveira continues stimming through. +2 is done. Chitin is plating about to complete. He's consuming the extractors right next to him there. The Ultra leading the charge. The siege tanks pounding home. And Serral needs to commit to a fight because otherwise he's just going to bleed out units left, right, and center. Down go 2 Ultras. 1 survives. Viper's out of energy. Takes out another tank. There's nothing left. Oliveira takes back 1. And he's on the board, doing what almost no one else this entire year has been able to do, which is winning even a single game against Serral. And that one wasn't particularly close. A decisive victory. Huh. Well, Serral getting caught off guard. I think Serral got too greedy. He got 90 drones. He went straight to Hive. He was relying on Roach Ravager, but he was shifting into melee attacks with Banelings. So he was trying to go not 2 different directions, but he was trying to take up at least 2 different lanes. Whereas Oliveira was laser focused on that attack timing. And it pays off. He gets critical damage. Even though Serral had Vipers, he didn't have the upgrades. He didn't have the unit count. And his production didn't kick in. Oliveira with an incredibly well-played game. proving even gods can bleed. Wow. That looked, at risk of sounding a bit pretentious. Maybe not the right word, but what, like one of my games? Like, I can get everything. All right, get Ultralists, get Vipers. Yes, I've got all the, oh no, that's a lot of Terran. Oliveira, I got probably the signature unit. Even though it's that mass bio, it's the siege tanks. Understanding the value of siege tanks in the right spot at the right time. Even though the Vipers have to use their energy on them. Even if they get negated by the Vipers, they force the Vipers to commit to either abducting or blinding cloud. While the rest of the bio army can do the damage and chew away at the Zerg. So, Oliveira dictating the pace of the game incredibly well. And closing it out decisively. Oh. Not quite. Going for it. Brenda bounce. And I don't know, Kev. Almost. But still, I'm checking. Yeah, not Clem. Now we see. I think if Serral, far be it from me to question him, but if Serral cuts out one part of the equation, like if you slow down the hive to max out, or you rush into the hive and then just lean into Roach Ravager Viper, I think at the end of the day, though, 90 drones was too much. The way Oliveira's 8 racks build works, for the most part, is you get up to 3 bases, you control the map with the Hellion Banshee, so that way you can build up to those 8 racks. And you pretty much stop building SCVs at 60 to 65. That's just enough to saturate 2 bases and get mostly just minerals from a 3rd. So, you stop building SCVs at all, both in order to have more army supply in total, and to invest more in that army supply early. So, Oliveira picking those timings, whereas Serral was just continually building his economy while trying to build up his army, which did not go well enough. Cloak is on the way for the Banshees here on Oceanborn. Overlord floats away in pieces. There, well, not suspiciously fast, but an anti-Banshee guard. He's actually hiding the Banshees. Intending. Yeah, he saw the cloak, though. Well, he's faked the cloak before. Just keeping him honest about it. But the quick lair is to get an Overseer to make sure the Banshee is kept in check. Or Banshee is in this case. If I figure out how to use words again, I'll let you know. Like and subscribe. Double engineering bay. Serral's also got his Evo chambers on the way. And there's the lair. Overseer in production. How many Hellions? 8 Hellions, 2 Banshees. So about the ragged edge of non-mech plays. Just making sure you have, just early on, a handful of Hellions and a couple Banshees are going to get a lot more value than a bunch of unstimmed Marines. So relying on these units is a safer bet than just building up a bunch of Marines and Marauders early. But the time will come. Well, the Banshee's still finding damage despite the cloak. The Hellions darting in, but the Roaches are in position to box him out. 2 of them taken down. The Queen's chasing. Still finding a few more kills. Picking targets. 5 drones down. Serral artificially limited here. Oliveira is actually getting a 4th command center and already a 2nd factory. So not just bio, but some mech mixed in as well. A bit of a bio-curious build here out of Oliveira. Definitely less focused on this. Oh, no, no, okay. Wow, beautiful. Sir, the Hatchery Owners Association says, we don't like your conduct. Wait, no. This is private property and there will be no trespassing. No Terrans allowed. Ever since the war. No. Brenda, they're gone. And they shouldn't come back. Armory's on the way. A slower start, though Oceanborn probably our most macro map. It's just very difficult, even to assault not just the first 3, but first 4 bases on the map. It's not until the 5th and 6th bases are threatened that you really start to see some split. So that means both players should be able to relatively comfortably get to 200 supply, assuming they're interested in it. But Oliveira, not going to let this opportunity go. He hasn't actually started his +2. Oh, I lied. I started the sentence and he didn't have 2 tier, but Oliveira's faster at playing than I am at speaking. Ooh, the Roach Ravager count far too much. He just picks up the tanks and gives up on this idea for now. The Marines will retreat, and Serral, Hive on the way. What was... He rapid-fired out the Corrosive Bows, which have the same hotkey as the Creep Tumors. Those are a bunch of slowlings. The Creep Tumors are taken down as the Marines still standing on the edge of the creep. The Banshees are back. I always appreciate... This is one of my... Like, I have my list of pet peeves of things pro players do, but this is like an anti-pet peeve. It's one of my favorite little things that really tilts the game when done right. Just repairing the Banshees and medevacs. But we all know it's illegal to repair medevacs. Oh my god, the Banshees come back 6 kills. I mean, Cell's at 92 drones, so I think he will financially recover from this, but he's tying up attention as well. Attention per minute is just as, if not more important than actions per minute from these 2 players at this stage of the game, because they're both going to have armies that could easily win a fight against each other. The right angle at the right time and a good choke point, or the opposite for Serral, and the game could just end. So keeping your opponent busy, zoning him out, and finding an opportunity to get damaged. Okay, well, I don't know what you expected, Serral. The Banshees did not have base, and there's no built-in anti-air. There's only the Queens right now. And the Marines will go for yet another base. Serral limited to just 5. Putting a hatchery. He has a macro hatch at the 3rd, and I love that as well. That's another, just like a tip of the hat from me, is putting macro hatches not in your main, because your main base is the least likely place you'll need units to produce from. The main base mines out most quickly. Putting all your tech there, sometimes you're obligated to do so. But when you put all your tech there, it becomes vulnerable. And that base, past like the 12-minute mark, is almost entirely useless. It mines out entirely by about 15 minutes. So it's just a liability at that stage. Now here's some parasitic bombs. Those Banshees will finally go down. As will essentially everything. Every bit. Besides one medic. Go tell your friends what happened here. And medevac will be driven back home. And Serral will be claiming both sides at the 1:48 and the 6:32 clock positions. Those bases, yes. Those are the ones. PM. Lurker Den. Wow, Oliveira gonna go for the frontline planetary. I love it. God, this game is filled with things that spark joy. Well, I don't love the planetary on the high ground as a Zerg player, and I'm 1/3 Zerg myself. Some of my best friends are Zerg, okay? But, so many little details that almost no one else does. So few players will commit to this, despite building 20 command centers. Yeah, Oliveira just whipping out scans. He only has 4 middles right now. But that number is growing. Neural Parasite on the way. Everything, you know, everything's on the way. 3 more command centers for Oliveira. Nidus Network, Lurker Dead, Neural Parasite, +1 ranged attack, and +3 Carapace for Serral. So he's gonna be maxed out. Pretty much across the board. I assume he has Burrow done. He does. And last but not least, a Fusion Core for Oliveira as he climbs up the rest of the tech tree. Though I seriously doubt this is for battle cruisers, but instead ranged liberators in order to control some of these fights. But here comes Serral. Ghosts are on the back, but not many good targets for him. If the Banelings can close in, but the Banelings are thinning out dramatically. The Roach Ravager working on the planetary, but there's not enough. Oliveira will hold. 74 Zerglings fill in the supply for Serral as he's back up to 200. Though the gas not looking nearly as good. Nidus. Tactical Nidus. I feel like these players have been playing the Brood War mod. The way they're playing now, but... Infantry weapons level 3. Completing. Upgrades fishing. There's the Spire as well. Serral just trying to get rid of those roaches, I think. No longer particularly valuable. Sensor towers covering almost the entirety. I think he's going to have full sensor coverage. Not only will he be able to scan any part of the map, but any unit, any overseer that tries to get in, it ain't happening. That sensor tower is about to come up, and now Oliveira has full sensor coverage. And now here we are. The supreme late game. The Mass Ghost Liberator up against Roach, Ravager, Baneling. More Baneling, 10 Banelings. Or 10 SCVs down. He didn't get the planetary. Corrosive Bile, not enough. He goes for more. The Ghosts punish him. The Ghosts knock out the Ravagers. And meanwhile, Serral's losing a hatchery. Not only does he not get Oliveira's base, but he loses one of his own. And the Liberators. The Liberators on the base. He doesn't kill too many drones. His advanced ballistics done. He didn't start it yet, so he may be realizing that now. This is awkward. Oh no, he takes out the Spore Crawler. Liberator will... That was optimistic. Queens will deal with it. Realizes advanced ballistics was not completed. Now we'll work on it. The Greater Spire on the way. Broodlord's definitely an interesting choice, potentially, but Serral's starting to run low on options. He has 5,700 minerals, but Zerglings are essentially just feeding minerals into these planetaries. It's not going to happen. Serral with a tactical Nidus, again, hooking up to the network, just going to lose all these drones. The hatchery was in range of the sensor tower. So Oliveira able to clean this up with ease. He kills 15 drones, gets the base. Serral just a straight up loss there. He has the other corner. Oliveira is turtling up, hardening his own particular Terran carapace here. And a nuclear missile is in production. More of a tactical option than a Hail Mary game-winning moment, but still, I think... likely to be tricked. Get over here! Knocks Medivacs out of the sky! Or whatever passes for it here on Oceanborn. Always satisfying to see the Medivacs in flight get yanked out of the way. Advanced ballistics is done. Which means, based on simple geometry, this base is now invalidated. Thankfully for Serral, he does have a Spire, but otherwise, I think Corrosive Bile and air units are the only way to deal with this. Otherwise, the Liberator has effectively denied this entire base. Well, or a Viper with Abduct. Yes, that is also an option. That was obvious. It was so obvious I didn't mention it, obviously. Which was also obvious. All right, stop talking. Moving on. Infestor's on the way. Finally, the Serral Fester is going to be making a cameo appearance. Hydras, Lings, and Banes. No hard targets. Nuclear launch detected to the south. Serral, there's not many drones here to deal with it. Wait, does he know where the ghost is? He does. The drones, oh my god, Serral kept mine. Loses 2 drones, some of the larva building units, and gonna move some of the drones out of the Nidus network. Wow. All these little details we almost never see. Oliveira, long distance mining from a base that Serral just retook. Serral has lost 5,000 more minerals, a bit more gas. He has 5,000 more minerals in the bank, and a bit more gas. But that can change dramatically with one particularly bad fight, which against this unit composition is much more likely for Serral to have than Oliveira. The constant scans, the big risk, and possibly the only existential risk here. The infestors. The Serral festers with their burrow. If he just scans literally around every single fight looking for infestors, and with 7 orbitals that isn't an impossibility, then there's a real chance that Oliveira... So, Serral has had an income lead throughout all this. But if you look at the y-axis, it's not by much. 400, 800 resources per minute, that's far less than a base. A base is about very roughly 1,500 minerals and 250 gas a minute. So, overall, not a huge disparity. There's an infestor. Oh my god, he just scanned 7 times at once. He volleys out scans like it's a Costco checkout here. And, well, he spots every single base and many of the armies. But somehow an infestor, well, the infestor's still in position. Serral with over 9,000 minerals, over 5,000 gas. But Oliveira, 2K, 3,500, nuclear launch from the low ground. Could he abduct the guy? I guess he could abduct the ghost up to the high ground. Knowing Serral, he's seen it and is waiting until the last second to move. He doesn't even... Wow. Does not respect the nuke at all. And coming in for more blinding cloud onto the tanks. Overseers. Ghosts. Falling back away from the banelings. There's multiple zoning planetaries. Kills a whole bunch of SCVs. Lets the orbital lift. The ghosts. Another Ghost Academy is on the way. 90 Zerglings and 20 Banelings in production. What a game. The Liberators are looking the wrong way. Multiple Ghost Academies only means one thing. Nuclear missiles. Wow, the Ghosts line up a firing squad of snipes. He cloaks, but there's a spore crawler right in front of him. The entire firing squad unleashing. And Serral going to be driven out of the right side. He escapes into the... I love it. Like, amazing. It's a Brood War strategy, but it works just fine. Maybe even better because all the networks are connected in SC2. Which is, you know, the plot line of Legacy of the Void as a downside, but... Oh, another volley. Liberator. Spore Crawler will take it out. But siege tanks on the high ground is Oliveira. The double siege as we rotate around. Oliveira slowly but surely carving out the northern half of the map and Serral relegated to the south. Siege tanks still shelling. The details here are just insane. Widowmine. He keeps it going. There's just 2 corruptors, but that's enough. More nukes on the way. a second spire for upgrades, and maybe just as a backup, because that base is under siege. How many Zerglings on the field? 129. So a couple. Vipers have full energy. We got chitinous plating on the way for the Ultralisk. Another nuclear launch detected. And it's less that Serral knows there's a nuke. It's more that he has to respect. It's a nuke. You gotta Did that Spore Crawler give detection? Yes. The Spore Crawler was just barely in range of the Ghost. The Liberator count. 8 Liberators, 8 Vikings, 8 Siege Tanks, 8 Barracks, 8 Orbitals. The Ocho build. Another nuclear launch. This time around, the Ghost just a little bit further back, and he's using it as a staging area. The nuke lands and devastates a single extractor. 2 nukes and siege tanks yanked up to the high ground. Not quite the range they wanted to be at. Ghost taking out changelings. Ultralisk speed is on the way. Serral mined out the vast majority of this base, including over half the gas. How is this infestor still... that infestor's been chilling next to turrets for like 10 minutes. Somehow survived. Serral has 9,500, 7,400. Another nuclear launch. Serral? Hello? Oh my god. Serral using every last moment. Wow, that planetary isn't even in the right spot. Well, it's now not in any spot at all. Only Serral. Waiting until the last second to move the drones away. Unfortunately, his army was committed to the left flank, which means he didn't have enough supply to drive back this overlapping Olympic rings of Liberator circles here. The Liberator count continues to grow. He's at 12. There's 6 Corruptors on the field. Between the Widow Mines, between the turrets, the TPM, the turrets per minute, continuing to range. You just can't know. They have range, they have armor. The upgrades tab is over half the screen. Are there any upgrades? We got flyer attack upgrades. Not quite there yet. Are there any non-unit upgrades, like basic unit upgrades? Well, there's a lot of mech upgrades that haven't been researched yet. Like Blue Flame Hellbats. Could be making a cameo appearance. The thing is, Oliveira has plenty of gas. He's actually hurting for minerals, which is a bit of an odd spot. As you can't do the massive Hellbat floods and such that you'd like to otherwise. But on the run, retreats from this position to the left. The most strategic game. After 2 heavy-hitting, just full-on macro games, this is such a war of attrition, where they're both making big decisions on where to commit their forces. But Oliveira, I think, is slowly but surely working his way back into an advantageous position. He's lost 9,000 less minerals, but he's about even on gas. Serral actually has lost so many overlords, he's supply blocked. So that is starting to add up as well. Are there nukes? He's got 2 nukes in the tank here. 15 Widow Mines, 14 Liberators, 12 Ghosts, and also whatever Marines and Marauders he was able to scatter in. Meanwhile, Serral's army, 91 Zerglings, 16 Corruptors now, 42 Banes, but he's trying to hold on to them in order to maximize the effectiveness of the gas. I think it's going to come down to whether Serral has enough in the bank. He's going to continue to be less cost-effective. But if he can keep Oliveira at bay for long enough, the bank that he has may carry him through. But Oliveira has the most cost-effective army in the game. Ranged Liberators, Widow Mines behind turrets, as well as, of course, no one can forget the Ghosts. Nuclear launch detected. Again, besieging west side base. As Oliveira makes another play. He nukes his own Liberator, somehow doesn't kill it. The radius is a lot less impressive than you think. The Bailing's just looking for a target here. Not gonna waste him on any buildings. But the Greater Spire, potentially... Why can't you hit the Greater Spire from the air? Not important right now. And also, that'd be silly. 10 drones down, but Oliveira's multi-siege setup is... Oh, wow. Remember, he had the backup and a tactical nuke. That ghost is going to be taken out. Parasitic bomb across the Scandinavia Vikings. And the Liberate... Wow. Has he gone too far? Serral clears the air and wipes the ground. And kind of anticlimactic. That Widow Mine. Probably the most effective part. Oliveira, where are the ghosts? Did they all die? In that fight, 3 ghosts die. Most of the ghosts were not with the army. And without them there to complement. Serral realizing that the major weakness is having expensive units that can be sniped. Hydraling Bane is kind of the soft, very soft counter to ghosts. Because there's nothing really worth sniping. You kind of just gotta fight straight up. And that favors the player with more money in the bank. But does he have enough? Here we go. The Lings and Banes crashing in yet again. The Liberator's trying to siege. Still more underneath. The field runs red. And Serral is most of it. 178 to 126 supply. 15, 11. He has less SCVs than he started with. Another parasitic bomb. But the ghosts are cloaked and there's no detection here. The parasitic bomb's doing a massive number. But I think Serral may... He's now, for the first time, breaking out the Ultralisks. He's held them in reserve, but he's whittled down the Liberator count to 2. There's only 1 medevac. There's barely any mines. The finishing move from the finisher. The Ultralisks. They'll be scanned. Oliveira still has plenty of orbitals. 7. So he can keep tabs on the army. That doesn't mean he can stop it. Widow Mine takes a small bite. But the Ultras, a big glaring target, but the real damage comes from everything else. The Zerg are everywhere. And Serral claims game 3 after 29 minutes. Kind of crazy. He lost... Is that less Zerglings than game 1? I don't remember how many game 1 was. It was a lot of Zerglings. But a more methodical game. And I think that Serral claiming those bases so aggressively made the difference. Oliveira never had... At no point did he have more economy. Or at least access. Serral was even taking Oliveira's, we'll say, 4th in this case. So, a tough one there. But still, in the series. Oliveira dragging Serral to the Supreme late game. And for a while there, it looked like it was anyone's game. But Serral held on. The most patient player probably in the history of StarCraft 2. It's such a... I can tell you from very, very extensive lived experience. That is a very frustrating position for Zerg to play from. It is incredibly difficult to both, 1, not get tilted, and 2, make smart decisions about how to handle it. But Serral, he doesn't make it look easy, but he makes it look inevitable. Oliveira, we're on Alcyone here. He's already taken as many games as the rest of the world this entire year. Yes, Serral has only lost 1 game in professional matches this year. Fun fact, I guess. And that was to Dark in IEM Katowice. So Oliveira currently tied with everyone else, but more importantly, Dark. We'll see. That was... I want to keep going, like... we're gonna do a little meta commentary here. Thank you, by the way. I hope you enjoy. I like to bring something a little different than you might find on your standard tournament cast, as we can all see what's going on the screen. But I like to appreciate when the players are making these little detailed plays, like the planetary on the high ground. The way Serral uses his Nidus. The way Oliveira sets up his Liberate. Like, these little details. Individually, sure, anyone could do it. But doing it at this level against a player you know will take it. Yes, even Oliveira will take full advantage of any tiny mistake. So stressful, but at the same time, so important. Oliveira needs every single edge he can get, and if he can steal a few and use them, I'll take it. Serral, on the other hand, at no point, it's a credit to Oliveira that Serral never found an opportunity to break through. He just had to grind him down and essentially win an economic war. All right, we're going into game number 4. Exhausting. Alcyone is... I don't know if it's better for Oliveira's style. It does have a lot of tank push opportunities, but the middle of the field is a lot easier to set up surrounds as well. So it really depends on the timing and the execution. But that watchtower in the center of everything, the watchtower that you can hold with a siege tank. There's an interference. Ah, he's faking cloak. That is like, it's a fake. Well, Serral has to respect it, like there will be cloak. Remember last game, he did go cloak for the Banshees. So just keeping that threat there, somehow the Overlord lives, is important. But yeah, interference matrix is cheaper than cloak. So you start it, you pretend to make the upgrade. Serral is calling his bluff. He did not go for the early lair. He's 100% calling his bluff here. Because if you think it's Cloak Banshee, you go for the lair and then the Evo Chambers. No lair in sight. Evo Chambers first. He doesn't believe him. Oh my. Triple Brenda bounce. And the upgrades are going to be significantly faster for the finished Zerg. I want to talk about Serral and his military service. So for one, he's in a special branch of the, like a special sports service or something like that, which is internationally recognized athletes, which Finland has a surprising amount of. I believe he's the first person to actually join for esports specifically. But they've allowed him to compete in international tournaments because that's kind of the point of the whole thing, is to maintain your position as an internationally recognized athlete from Finland. And also, while this might hurt some players who won't be able to practice as much, I feel like Serral's like a chess master. You know, like chess masters who can play out games in their head or blindfolded? I feel like Serral, more than anyone else, you could make it so he just can't log into StarCraft for a month, and he'd still potentially be better than he was. Yeah, he'd be rusty on the mechanics. But I feel like Serral can play out games in his head and learn new things in those games that he played in his head and come up with new ideas. In those details, like, it's not like he's going to come up with a new unit composition. But, like, when do I take my Evo Chambers? How do I hotkey my queens? If you haven't yet seen my coaching with Serral, by the way, it was awesome of Serral to agree to it, where he explains how he uses every single hotkey. And I'm like, how do you control multiple spellcasters at once? He's like, I don't. He never has a hotkey with more than one spellcaster. He always has them on separate keys. Maybe we'll look at it later. If you're interested, maybe we can do like a first-person breakdown. But his solution to the difficulty of controlling multiple sets of units on one control group is not to have multiple sets of units. It's a very Brood War mindset as well. But I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. I've never seen another player as committed to that. I've never seen another player use all 10 keys. And maybe want some more, but... here we go again. Is this the Octo Rex? Indeed. And it's a no add-on Octo Rex. 64 SCVs to 76 drones. Oliveira going to be spamming units here. 12 Marines at a time. 2-2 on the way. 2 medevacs. Very key. No SCVs. Look at the supply. Oliveira has a lead on Serral here. And those Marines are bearing down. The siege tanks are ready. Brenda, where is everyone? I think we made too many drones, Susan. I know. Serral just coming in, looking to break out. The tanks getting huge hits onto the banelings. The Marines back off the creep. The Queens are forced to defend. Serral loses the vast majority of his units here. The Queens are going to be hunted down. And there's still Banshees as well, adding their... What? No, one more time. We're going to watch from both sides. Oliveira comes in. I don't know if Oliveira expected that to just end, but Serral's on 5 bases. Look at... He splits off the siege tanks and queues them up into those little, siege corners there. I don't think Oliveira expected Serral to actually commit to a full-on breakout. He's not even looking to the north side. The position is so good. And the key part is the Hellbats to protect the siege tanks. Serral went for 77 drones. He went for 2-2. He got Burrow. Now we got to go to Serral's side of things. What made him think he could break this? And if you're wondering if I sped it up, no, that's just Serral at normal speed. Injecting all the hatches. Sets up the Ling Bane. Move commands the Banelings through, for the most part. The units just thin out. They just dissipate. And so I was like, oh no. Oliveira with a decisive timing. That we have to break down a couple times because, again, Serral just overrun. Wow. So, both of Oliveira's wins, decisive 8-Rex victories. Whereas the losses dragged out affairs. So, I think we know what Oliveira needs to be aiming for. You gotta kill him quick. Not that Oliveira can't hang with Serral in the late game. But it severely decreases his chances. So, Oliveira has now doubled the amount of games the rest of the entire world has won against Serral this entire year. And is on the cusp of actually defeating him. We're on side Delta. And this is... Oliveira's a very different player than Clem. Than Maru. It's hard to describe. But it's my job to try to do so, so we're gonna attempt to. But he's a more strategic player. Clem always feels like he's leaning heavily on his micro. Like he knows he'll be able to control his units so well, he'll get advantages. Maru usually is playing a whole series. This is why I think Maru is best, well, most of the time best. In GSL and other such tournaments. Like, his micro is great, but he doesn't rely on it. He sometimes over-relies on his build orders. Oliveira, he relies on his builds in a different way. Like, it's tactics. I think Oliveira is one of the best tactical players in the world. He knows how to set up, like, the little details of putting the Hellbats by the siege tanks, just the actual siege tank positions, the commitment to the 8 racks, he sets himself up for success. He jams himself into a position that is very hard to dislodge. And if his opponent fails, he can just take a victory right then and right there. He's really using as well that cutting SCVs and maximizing production. That can't be understated. For you Diamond League Terrans out there, which is the vast majority of Terrans who are watching and trying to learn something, the timing on the production is absolutely everything. That's the difference. There's a huge disparity between Oliveira and other Terrans, and then, of course, your average ladder Terran. Finding the exact right timings to add on barracks makes all the difference. Getting another 10, 12, 20 Marines out 30 seconds earlier can be the difference between defeating Serral and looking like a noob. And Oliveira right now, yeah, it's 2-2, so. But if you're really looking to pay attention, well, you can download the replays yourself. But also, just keep an eye on the production tab for when those barracks are added on. Compare it. What I like to do is not so much compare it to an exact supply, but to an SCV count or a certain timing in the game. I find that the easiest way to remember builds, because just writing down like 3 minutes and 53 seconds is when I add on my barracks 2 and 3. No, but 32 to 35 workers, or after the second Banshee, or with 4 Hellions, stuff like that. You can tie it in, because those are things, that way you have redundancy. And redundancy is everything, because things will go wrong. Everyone has a plan until Zerglings get in your base and punch you in the mouth. So that is the most important thing, is being able to recover from that situation. So we will see. Layers on the way. Not taking a chance that it's going to be Cloak Banshee. Serral. Well, last time he called the bluff on the Banshees, and it didn't work out for him. He needed that lair. I think the timing of Baneling speed really hurt. Unable to break the army until later on. Or attempt to break, rather. Now, the timing on Baneling speed is so incredibly important. Alright, double engineering bay. There's the double racks. In fact, he waits so long on it, making sure he has all these Hellions, keeping him alive as well. The Hellbats, I think, to zone out for the siege tanks, made a huge difference in the last game. This time, Serral's going to go Roaches. Roach Ravager, that more midline choice, requires a lot less economy, but has less potential. So it's lower risk and lower reward in general as a unit composition. But Serral needs to survive the push. So far, Oliveira is 2 for 2 on sharply executed 8 racks pushes. He didn't attempt it on Oceanborn, and it wasn't a true 8 racks timing on Ghost River. He went for add-ons, he was going for a more late game army. So, here we are. I mean, no one expects Oliveira to hold a candle. But he just seems to be... It's very rare to have a player like this who steps up when the pressure's on. Like in person, major tournament. You just shook Serral's hand. I'm assuming, because Serral is quite a sportsman, that Serral didn't deny him a handshake before the match. Though that would be hilarious. I doubt it. So, when at the highest stakes here, able to put up his absolute best games. And Oliveira is actually an incredibly young player. I believe he's 23 now. He won the World Championship at 2021. He's been playing professionally since about 14. So, he's actually younger than Serral, who at this point, at the ripe old age of about 26. I think that's it. Hive is already on the way, 7 minutes. The 8 racks, he saw with the Overseer. All right, no more meta commentary, no more old man. Keep these 8 racks kids off my lawn commentary. Here we go. The Zergling counterattack in towards the third. It's just the drops at the front. Zerglings and Roaches moving to intercept. Both players know what's about to happen. That's the key here. It just comes down to where are the Marines going? Get off my creep! He's gonna try to take out the Overlord, but the Queens poke, and the Overlord throws a transfuse. +1 ranged attack, +1 ground care of this. 2-2's on the way for Oliveira. Viper. Wow, 8-minute Vipers. He's getting Vipers as Baneling speed is finishing with Adrenal Gland started. Serral at 79 drones. This is quite a reach. Oliveira will be coming across the map momentarily. He's hitting a little bit later, but even stronger, as he's got 2-2 on the way. He's nearly maxed out. Unsiege. And here we go. A double drop has been keeping things at bay. He's tried to keep the creep back. He's been marginally successful. That is a lot of Terran. Where are we going, boys? You want a piece of meat, boy? Wait a second. Serral sees it all with a changeling. He knows he's coming through the rocks. The Vipers are gathering energy. The Ravager Baneling gonna spray out a single wave. Not gonna find enough yet. Serral already driven back to his base. He's got a lot of upgrades on the way, but they're not done yet. He wants to wait out Adrenal Glands at least. The other upgrades still pretty far off. Oliveira has taken up a decisive position right outside the third. A very hard place to break out. And here come the Vipers. Blinding Cloud on one of the tanks. Looking for the back line. Trying to throw down just Blinding Clouds on single tanks isn't going to cut it. Zerglings cutting off reinforcements. Siege tanks especially. So Serral not idle on the other side. He's making sure. This old school style of just cutting things off. The Queens are taking a pounding. But they're used to it. The siege tanks getting a bit distracted by him, and Serral holding on to the third base for now. The Zergling counterattack with Adrenal Glands done. Starting to get thinned out here, but making sure the reinforcements are not making it to the front line. The Zergling's still going. May get another tank. Not quite. They make it most of the way across. Oliveira down to 5 tanks, including the one coming across. +2 Carapace is about to finish, but a great Blinding Cloud invalidates half the tanks. Ravager Corrosive Bomb knocks out another one, and Serral is breaking out. The Roach Ravager is just barely enough. He's up 10 supply, but that's it. And a lot of that is in workers. Oliveira is driven back. Serral cutting off the that's such a huge call to make. Committing that many Zerglings to cutting off the reinforcements. It pays off. But if it doesn't there, if either the reinforcements are too much and the Zerglings just get gunned down, or the push is able to make it through, but Oliveira, not quite enough. The Viper staying alive. Did he lose any? He lost 2. He lost them in the fight. He's rebuilding one. Ultralists are on the way. And Ultralists put a timer on this sort of composition. As even though Oliveira's going to have great upgrades, there are no ghosts. He's just now building Liberators. He's still at 63 SCVs. He hasn't built, to my understanding, an SCV for like almost 5 minutes now. He's sitting at this 3-base economy and won't be adding to it anytime soon. He needs to keep the pressure on. The only defense right now for Oliveira is a good offense. He needs to drive the creep back, because if he's pinned up against his base, the Ultras will just run through the field. They will cleave through the Terran. Oliveira needs to fight, and he needs to win. The Ravagers, Ultras caught by the Liberators. Ravagers gone down. One of the Liberators. Good for spot defense. There's not nearly enough Liberators to be that oppressive at the moment. Serral, only 79 Zerglings. Splits off a huge amount of them for a counterattack. Looking to cut off the reinforcements yet again. Some of the relatively few SCVs in the center of the map. But the Zerglings cutting off the reinforcements. And then Serral, while Oliveira's looking the other way, will try to break out at the front. Blinding Cloud on the tanks. Corrosive Bile on the Liberator. Doesn't quite knock it down. Not the decisive victory Serral was looking for. But he refills with Ultras and with Zerglings. Oliveira moving forward. Reinforcements continuing to be cut off. The stakes are raised. The supplies as well. As the minerals are starting to mine out of the main. Oliveira, more and more pressure on him. The Liberator's trying to target. Knocks out another Liberator with Ravagers, but the Bio Army is strong enough. Targets down one Ultra. The Liberator's on the back line. Zerglings at the natural. Another wave of Ravagers. Knocks down another Liberator. And Oliveira dipping on supply. Finally, the Zergling counterattack is cleaned up. And he gets the hatchery. Another base scanned. Serral, 77 drones. He's got 5 bases technically, 4 bases practically. But now the Bio Army is in between. A Viper could be taken out. Another Ultra is finally taken down. Parasitic Bomb, he leads it through the medevacs, doing a lot of damage there. The Zerglings continuing to gut the reinforcements. But the Bio Army stutter stepping onto the hatchery, looking to take it down. And the Zerglings and Ultras are closing in. They'll take a blood price, but overall, the cost well worth it. As Oliveira now limiting Serral to just 2 bases over to the left flank. He's eliminated 2 bases, but the minerals are mining out of the main, and he's not even bothering mining them anymore. He's built a 4th command center, but still no Ghost Academy. Still no +3 armor. Serral has +3 carapace against the +3 infantry weapons. Neither player has really found the space to continue getting upgrades. Still a very tense position. Oliveira's done a lot with relatively little. And Serral doesn't have money in the bank. He's not maxed out, and he's using every bit of resources he has. So he is not in an overwhelming position. The Ultralisk count 3 with 3 more in production. Burrow and Infestors as well. And the Bio coming around the corner. Looking for another base. The Vipers, Parasitic Bomb. Ooh, could have probably killed that medevac off, but trying to keep the Vipers intact. Serral is maxed out. Oliveira, the army supplies are still comparable. Oliveira moving out. There's gonna be... Does he counterattack? Yes. He goes for the economy. Serral again going to try to limit Oliveira's options. And Oliveira again gonna drive through towards the 3rd. The Venn diagram of freedom is set up. The army supplies are set. I don't think Oliveira's gonna get unsupply blocked again before the game ends in his favor or the other way around. 182 over 140. He lost so many depots. Did he even lose the command center? No, that was the command center lifted, landed again. Planetary Fortress, cleaving through. Ravagers, meanwhile losing a base to the north side. Serral's going to lose a base in turn. But Oliveira loses both of his mining bases. His income is plummeting to near 0. But he's getting into one of the most effective positions you can be on the entire map. He's cutting off all the reinforcements. He could potentially drive through to the heart of the swarm. Serral up 60 supply, but the army supplies are still within 10. He has that top right corner. There are the Vipers. Serral cleaving through the natural. There's barely anything left in production. And here we go. Vipers, Parasitic Bombs onto the Liberators. Starting to chew through them. There's no SCVs for repair. There's barely any SCVs at all. And the Liberators will siege up. Actually, the Ultras flying through the Liberation Zones. Gonna get a couple of them taken out. 1, 2 Vipers. The Vipers are so important right now. 2 Roach Warrens on the way, as Serral has lost the majority of his production. And now the Ultras on top of the Bio Army, trying to work their way through. The Liberators taking massive chunks of the Ultras out, but at the end of the day, 135 to 29 supply. There's nothing left in the main. The Liberators and the refugee barracks lifted into the sky, and Serral will be lifted to a 3-2 victory. GG, WP. A god can bleed. But this time, he still succeeds. Serral, in the closest match I've seen him play in months, will defeat Oliveira 3-2. Jimmy, of all the times. What a game. What a series. Some of the highest level, if not the highest level I've ever seen. Has Serral lost a step? He may have gained one. Oliveira keeps pace, but just barely stumbles at the end. He seems to really step up at these high-level matches, and he almost pulls off possibly the greatest upset of his career. But not quite. Well, that was certainly something, and I hope it made your day a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But liking and subscribing is still free for now. Thank you for watching. If you haven't yet checked out the second channel, by the way, YouTube channel, Winter Gaming, for streaming, more content. He got more hours in the day. Be awesome. You check it out. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Hope I made your day a little bit better. Good luck, have fun. Congratulations to Serral, and wow, Oliveira. Stay chill.